Today's episode is brought to you by Drift Outfitters in downtown Toronto, Ontario. Drift Outfitters is your source for all things fly fishing. From waders and boots to thread and feathers, Drift has it all. They're now open for in-store shopping, but with a COVID times twist. Along with mandatory masks, a few other things have changed. So check in on their website to find their latest updates and policies. Safety first, fly fishing second. Curbside pickup for your online or phone orders is still a great way to get all the gear you need, and they're still shipping across Canada for free on orders over $100. Visit driftoutfitters.com to learn more. Hello, welcome to another episode of So Fly. It is July 12th, actually mid-July. We're back recording another show over Zoom. My name is Mitch, and we've got Yilma.
Hello, everyone.
We've got Aldo.
Hey, everybody.
And we've got a very fantastic guest on the show today, someone we're super excited to finally be chatting with. Tom Rosenbauer is a fly fishing instructor. He's an author and he's a legend, quite frankly. He's published a number of fantastic books for Orvis over the years and is also the host of the Orvis Fly Fishing Guide podcast. We're super excited to have him on the show today. Tom, how's it going?
Good, Mitch. How are you guys today?
Very good, very good. Whereabouts are you calling in from today?
I am in my home in Paulet, Vermont.
Okay, right on, right on. And
which is a small dairy farming town in southwestern Vermont.
Oh, very nice, very nice. What's the weather? Is it super hot down there too? Because it's super hot up here in Ontario.
Yeah, it's been hot. It's been hot for us. You know, it's been in the 80s, close to 90, which is hot for us.
Yeah, lots of good warm water fishing temperatures, though, I think, down there, eh?
Yeah, the carp have been treating me well. So.
That's awesome. Well, we're super excited to be chatting today. Yeah, like I said, Tom, if you don't know Tom Rosenbauer, then I think maybe you're living under a rock or something, because Tom has been in the fly fishing industry for forever, and he's done all kinds of great stuff to instruct and mentor up-and-coming fly fishing people, and of course, tons of amazing content, the Orvis Fly Fishing Guide podcast, and lots of great video content now, too, on YouTube. But Tom, yeah, we got connected through you through a guest we had on the show, Colin, who we know because we're actually from the same place as Colin, just outside of Ottawa, but yeah, how did you and Colin hook up? Because I just saw today, I was on your YouTube channel. I saw that you guys are producing some content together as well.
Yeah, we've been working together for, I don't know, close to 20 years now. I've been,
oh, wow.
You know, I've hosted some shows with Colin, for Colin, for the New Fly Fisher. And then about 8 years ago, we came up with the idea of doing an Orvis basic how-to fly fishing TV series, which had really never been done before on TV. And then it got repurposed on YouTube, and Orvis built. The real reason Orvis did it was to develop a video-based learning center, because we knew that that's how people learn these days.
Yep.
We wanted something that was organized and curated and easy for a beginner to follow. Mm-hmm. So we first got Colin came to Orvis over 20 years ago and pitched, just sponsoring his show.
Yeah.
And I had been at the time doing PR and media relations and had been burned lots of times by TV shows.
Yeah.
That was before YouTube and before the internet and everything, but I'd been burned. So I was pretty leery and pretty cautious, and got to know Colin and really found out that he is an amazingly conscientious and honest and just a wonderful guy. And we've since become very close friends, and love working with him. You know, he's one of the few people in TV that is always did what he said he was going to do. Yeah. And is also interested in teaching and quality and not just a bunch of people beating their chest about the big fish they caught.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, we love the new fly fisher. Okay, well, why don't we just jump right into a bit about your fly fishing kind of history, because I think it'd be really interesting to know just how you got into fly fishing at all, and then your journey into the Orvis world. But how did fly fishing in your life begin?
I hope this is interesting to your listeners because it's really boring to me.
It's interesting to me if that makes any difference.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I got an interested audience.
Yeah.
So I grew up outside of Rochester, New York, so kind of due south of you guys, or
Yep.
due south and a little bit west,
Yep.
and on Lake Ontario. And I'd fished since I was a kid with my dad. He was a worm fisherman, pretty much, but he had no fly rod. Probably just post World War II, maybe pre-World War II era steel rod with an automatic reel, and it hung from the rafters in the garage, and he never used it. And I'd watched the American Sportsman on TV and, read Outdoor Life and Field and Stream and thought that fly fishing sounded fun. It sounded cool, sounded interesting. So I took that rod down and tried to teach myself how to cast and do all those other things that we need to do to learn how to fly fish, learn knots. And of course, there was nothing available then. There were a few books in the library.
Yeah.
But, it was pretty much hacking my way through it. I had one friend who I learned with, a buddy from Boy Scouts, and we didn't know anybody else our age that fly fished. It was just like, in those days, fly fishing was, it was an old white man's game, and that's the only people you saw doing it.
Yeah.
But we hacked our way through it and read a lot and fished a lot. Of course, being a teenager, I was maybe 12 when I started. Being a teenager, you got time to play around and experiment and make lots of mistakes. And then when we both got our driver's licenses, the world was our oyster. We started, we'd go up to the West Branch of the Ausable or down to the Beaver Kill in the Delaware.
Yeah.
And, just kind of hacked our way through it. And then I started tying flies pretty early on. I may have even tied flies before I fly fished. And I got pretty good at things like Catskill dry flies and classic wet flies.
Yeah. And
there was a guy who had a little Orvis shop or a little fly shop in his garage. And he liked my flies, and he actually started paying me for flies and taught me just a ton about fly tying and about fishing. His name was Carl Coleman.
Okay.
And he's still around and still guiding. I think he's got to be well into his 80s.
Wow.
God, he taught me a ton.
Yeah.
And so I made some money tying flies. I started buying better rods. My father, who was a child of the Depression, was horrified when I spent $20 at the hardware store buying my first fiberglass rod, and eventually started fishing better glass rods. And by the time I was 16, I had a couple of bamboo rods. Wow. There were no graphite then.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I continued to tie and fish, and went to college at forestry school at Syracuse, tied commercially a bit, and worked for kind of a bait / fly shop in downtown Syracuse. He also had a mail order fly tying business, so I worked with that and part-time while I was going to college. And then after I got out of college, didn't have any money to go to grad school, so I had gotten the Orvis News for many years. That the old newsletter used to be put out, and there was a help wanted ad for help in the retail store. So I applied there.
Yeah.
When I graduated from college, and started out as a clerk in the retail store, awesome. Which I was horrible at.
Yeah.
I have no patience, and I'm not really
yeah.
I'm not really that social.
Yeah.
So luckily some other things opened up. Running the fly department in those days, all the flies were tied domestically, and we had about 20, 25 tires throughout the country that we would send materials to and send orders to, and quality control. And I got to know really cool people. Renee Harrop was one of our tyers, and Dennis Black, who started Umpqua Feather Merchants, and some really interesting individuals. They were all very quirky and fun, and most of them were insomniacs. They would tie all night.
Yeah.
And I got to, learn more about fly tying materials. At that time, we would fumigate our own necks coming in from India and formaldehyde. I'm surprised I still have all my faculties. And, dyeing bucktails and cutting up deer hair and all this stuff. So, I really, really learned a lot, and then started instructing in the fishing schools and the shooting schools. Yeah. And one day somebody asked me if I wanted to be the editor of the Orvis News. I knew nothing about writing, photography, or anything. And luckily at the time, Fly Fisherman Magazine and Fly Rod and Reel were both based here in Manchester. And there were a number of outdoor writers, Robert F. Jones and Tony Atwell and Jeff Norman, John Merwin, John Randolph. And those guys kind of took me under their wing, and they really helped me. I would go to their office and bug them about things, and they would read my stuff, and they were very generous with their time. So, a lot of things came together. Taught myself how to take pictures, and,
Jeez. Yeah. I mean, I love how you started in Orvis and in the retail, and now you're, the voice of the brand. I mean, that's a pretty awesome transition.
Yeah.
Well, after 44 years, you ought to learn something.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was it? The fact that you didn't know such things, like such big, challenging things like writing or photography, and you just crushed it, which is very inspirational, because we have a team of learners ourselves, and we just picked it up. It was good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. It's great to learn by yourself. It takes longer. These days, of course, it's a lot easier. Maybe writing isn't much easier using the web, but certainly learning photography and setting up live streams for fly tying and things like that. You just go to YouTube and got lots of help.
Oh, education is just knowledge is so accessible now. And I think too, that really taps into fly fishing as well. I mean, like you said, you spent 40 years, with Orvis, and many of those years instructing and teaching people through your books and everything else. But it's cool that, when you started fly fishing, you were saying there wasn't really that many books. You were kind of it was probably a lot of just trial and error, figuring stuff out yourself from a fly fishing perspective, right?
Yeah. I mean, where I grew up fishing, the first technical fishing that I really did was on a spring creek.
Oh, nice.
In upstate New York, which I won't name because I would have a contract on my life if I on a podcast. All the Canadians would come down and fish it.
100%.
But
including these three Canadians.
I mean, you're reading, like Ray Bergman's Trout wasn't really how I would, he was talking about fishing 3 wet flies and Parmashini bells, and I was fishing size 24 midges.
Yeah.
But it did help a little bit. And then I got, I found Vince Marinaro's book, Modern Dry Fly Code, in the library. And that was more appropriate to what I was doing. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, definitely unlocked a bunch of knowledge.
When you started with Orvis, or at least started becoming more involved with the company, was there always a focus on education at Orvis? Because if looking at the brand now, that's definitely, it's huge, right? So either yourself or who's the gentleman that does those videos at the...
Oh, Pete Kusser.
Yeah. So, there's a huge amount of resources. Was that always part of the brand? Was education?
No, we had a fishing school since I think the late 60s. It was the first formal fly fishing school. So we always had that. And, those were both satisfying and profitable, because students, beginners buy a lot of stuff. But I think in the past 10 years, when we started doing podcasts and more instructional videos, we realized that that the most important thing with your customers is building trust. it's not so much, I don't even think it's so much brand loyalty as it is, do they trust you?
Right.
And so to be able to honestly give them information that helps them with their fishing and helps them have more fun on the water and feel more comfortable, builds a lot of trust with people. And it's been a conscious business decision, but it's also been really from the heart, because we were all there at one time, and I try to never forget what it was like being 14 years old and not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love beginners. I love novices. They're just they're an open book, and they love everything you do, and they're not critical, and they just want some help. And it's really satisfying to work with novices. So,
any defensive novices? Because apparently, any defensive novices?
Any defensive novices?
Yeah, who think they know what they're doing.
Most of them.
I'm one of them.
Oh, okay.
but we got past that.
Yeah, you go through those stages, I guess. You think you know it all. Yeah. I used to think I knew it all. I used to think I was a pretty good caster and a fly tyer until I started traveling and watching the internet and seeing how many people were so much better than me.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, there's so much talent out there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting that you talk about trust from Orvis. It's a good point, because they've also really been on, and you guys have been on the forefront of content marketing. Really, like the podcast, for instance, like that started up quite a while ago. Like at the beginning, it was one of the first fly fishing podcasts. Was it like 2008 kind of area?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was about 2008, and we had a guy that was kind of started this position of social media director, and I thought, oh, Jesus, what a crock that is. And he said, I want you to do a podcast. And I said, what? And at that time, podcasts were around, but they were kind of old tech. Yeah. They were just audio.
Yeah.
And video was Facebook was becoming more popular. Yeah. And I said, oh, that's old tech. That's not cutting edge stuff. He said, well, why don't you just try it? So I tried it, and the response was amazing.
Yeah.
And, we, from the very beginning, it was a teaching podcast, it was answering questions from people.
Yeah.
And it just took off. And no one was more surprised than me how powerful that became and how important it became to people. And I think because I would listen very early on, we took questions.
Yeah.
We started out just me talking about a topic, but very early on, we started taking questions and answering questions. And now, the whole thing is dictated by the listeners.
Yeah.
I don't really I sort of do what I want. But it's really, I listen to all these people and I get these emails and calls and I know what they're looking for. And so I just give them what they want. Yeah. I don't give them what I want to give them.
Yeah. So you're basically designing shows around just feedback.
Around feedback, yeah. Except for conservation. Early on, I had to really shove it down their throats because I could see the downloads were really lousy when I did a conservation podcast. Not so much now. But I said, you know what, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Screw you guys. I'm doing conservation in these podcasts and you better listen.
Totally.
But now it's like they ask for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because that was at the start of catch and release and all that stuff, right? People weren't
interested. It wasn't the start of catch and release was started long before that, but it was more habitat conservation issues.
Yeah. Why do you think people were like hesitant or didn't care? Just kind of, they were like, I just want to talk about fly fishing.
Yeah. Because people act in their own self-interest and they weren't learning anything about where to go and how to catch them.
Yeah, it's great to see that stuff becoming more prevalent and important.
Yeah. It's much more resonates a lot more with people now than it used to. But we've got a lot of threats to our way of life, to what we love, and people realize that they better step up and pay attention.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, our favorite stream. They're trying to dump what is it?
Wastewater from a
They're
treatment
building
plant.
they're trying to build a treatment plant and dump the effluents into,
Yeah.
we have the Credit River here. It's like one of the only cold water streams just west of Toronto. It has a 100-year-old brook trout native population in it, and it would just eradicate that. So that's the battle right now, is to not.
Well, a little wastewater, as long as the temperature stays cold, can be enriching. I mean, look at the Bow River. So
That's true.
There's other threats that are worse.
The main thing is, it's that coupled with Nestle's been pumping water out of that system to bottle water and sell it to people. So it's like a bunch of different.
You get those insults that add up into a real cluster.
Yeah. No, 100%. So when it comes to Orvis and just like the content and the podcast specifically, what is it that you get out of it? Like, why do you do the podcast for all these years? Like, what is it that you get?
Well, I guess there's a number of reasons. One, it's really satisfying when people tell you that they went out and caught a fish because of something they heard on the podcast. That's pretty powerful, and it's pretty satisfying for someone that likes to share this stuff.
Yeah,
and it's good for business. Yeah, even though nobody at Orvis listens to my podcast, I do whatever the hell I want. Nobody ever tells me what to do, or
that's awesome.
They don't even listen to it, so I just do whatever the hell I want. The other thing is that I make it a point never to have a podcast guest on that I know more than. Right. So, I'm always learning on those podcast interviews as well. I don't want somebody just talking about how they go nymph fishing if they're not really good at it, and I'm going to learn something. So it makes me curious, and I think it makes me ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Because I am interested in what they're saying. I'm not just listening to them.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. Do you remember the whole process behind writing your first book and like what that was like? Because it must have been quite the hurdle as well, right?
Yeah, it was. I had been writing for the Orvis News for a few years.
Yeah.
And Nick Lyons approached me once. I got to know Nick Lyons, who was probably the godfather of all fly fishing writers today, at least us older guys.
Yeah.
He's, just a wonderful human being and supportive and great editor. And he told me I should write a book. And Nick is no dummy either. He knew that an Orvis fly fishing guide would be a good seller. And I didn't really think I could do it, but Nick convinced me that I could do it. So I wrote the whole thing on yellow legal pads and pencil, and then had someone at Orvis transcribe. At the time I actually had a secretary. I haven't had one in many years, but at that time I did. And she knew my handwriting, and she transcribed the whole thing. And
oh wow!
Sent typewritten manuscript to Nick, because there was no internet then.
Yeah,
it was 1984.
Yeah,
there was no digital stuff.
Yeah,
and it did surprisingly well. I think the latest version is the 4th major revision.
Yeah,
I still have one.
Yeah, me too.
And honestly, I was doing 2 other books at the time, and the publisher wanted me to revise it, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I had actually Phil Monahan, who runs the Orvis blog. Phil actually did the editing and the writing for the latest version.
Yeah.
We kept a lot of the old stuff, but there were a lot of things, Euro nymphing and spay casting and more indicator stuff that wasn't in the original versions.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's awesome that the book was, it's obviously like a huge wealth of knowledge. He was definitely right to publish in saying we should publish a book from Orvis about that topic, because it was, it's a great book.
Yeah, and beginners books sell best.
Yeah.
write all the advanced books you want, but
Yeah.
believe me, I know.
Totally.
I know how fly fishing books sell, and most of them don't sell very well.
Yeah.
I have lots of them that didn't sell very well, but that one keeps cranking.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Speaking of beginner stuff, you've been doing a lot of fly fishing lately. I think in your neck of the woods. I was looking on your Instagram there for carp and smallmouth. It'd be cool if we could just chat about carp fishing a little bit because
love it.
I have never
Something
fly
I
fished
know
for carp.
There's so many carp where we are, and I don't think I think I've tried going after them once.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like permit fishing. You got to really want to catch one, and you got to throw to 100 of them before you hook up, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 on a good day. But they're big, they're challenging. It is the most, outside of a big brown trout rising to mayflies.
Yeah.
It's the most exciting freshwater fly fishing that I know of. It's just fascinating. These fish are big, they're strong, they're selective. They're a real challenge.
Yeah.
And I get so excited about carp fishing. I love it. They're ugly as sin.
Yeah.
They're slimy. They're smelly. A lot of people hate them because they're ugly and they're invasive and all that other stuff. But they're not going anywhere. We might as well take advantage of them.
So, do you remember jumping into carp fishing and do you remember your first carp on the fly and what your experience with that was like?
Yeah, I was with my wife and another couple, and we were on a wine tour in the Finger Lakes.
Nice. And
I must have been half in the bag, and I had a rod in the car, and we stopped at this pull off, and I could see it was on near Ithaca. I think it was Cayuga Lake.
Yeah.
Or Keuka Lake. Keuka Lake, I guess, is where Ithaca is, where Cornell is. And we stopped at a pull off, and I saw these fish tailing out there, big carp, and I walked out and threw a woolly bugger out there, and one of them took it, small woolly bugger. One of them took it and just spooled me, just like burned the drag on my CFO.
Yeah.
And I said, "Whoa, there's something to this stuff."
Yeah.
And I've begun to find some spots. Most of them are about an hour from me. I basically live in the mountains, and all I have is trout around me.
Right.
Small stream trout. I have lots of that. But I have to drive about an hour or two for good carp fishing. And you got to find the right spot.
Yeah.
You got to find a spot where they're in shallow water. They do like shallow water because that's where all the food is.
Right.
But you need relatively clear water because you got to sight fish to them. Not only do you have to see the fish, but you have to see which way its head's pointing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't blind fish for carp. You can't just throw it out there. It's all precise sight fishing.
Because they'll miss your fly, right?
Yeah, they just won't see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy to try to blind fish for them.
Yeah.
So you got to find them in shallow water, and they'll mud. So sometimes you'll see the mud.
Yep.
Or you'll see their tails sticking out, or you'll actually see the fish in the water. And you got to drag it right in front of them, let it drop in front of them. Sometimes they eat it.
Jeez. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it's interesting. You say tailing. It's almost like you say permit or redfish, fishing for redfish.
It is. They're so much like redfish. They are so similar to redfish. In fact, I've heard people call redfish saltwater carp.
Really? And what's the take like? Do they hit a fly do they smoke a fly like a redfish, or is it more just like pick up and kind of just start to kind of mosey around?
Yeah, they pick up and move off with it. Yeah. They hold on to a fly a little bit longer than a trout, so you have a little time to. Because you don't really feel the strike. You kind of have to watch the fish's body language.
Right. Yeah.
And when it's near your fly, if it lights up or you see the gills flare, then you just tighten up. I strip strike, but I just did a podcast with Dan Frazier on carp fishing, and he's a real carp expert.
Yeah.
I think it's going up next week.
Okay.
And he trout strikes him. He raises the rod tip.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you don't really feel them. You just have to kind of watch their body language. So it's, it's technical. It's not I would never advise someone when they're a beginner to go out and try to catch carp, because they'll give it up.
It'll just be frustrating. They'll have no luck.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Where are carp typically feeding on? Like, what kind of flies do you go out with when you go out?
A lot of them, they like small crayfish. They don't have very big mouth, and they really like small crayfish. But they root for, I suspect, dragonfly nymphs and damselfly nymphs.
Yep.
It's all about size 6 is about as big as you want to go, and 8s and 10s are probably better.
Yeah.
And I've been going down to 3X tippet. Wow. Which, on a 15-pound fish, I mean, some of these fish are 15, 20, over 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Is a pretty good battle. But you imitate little buggy stuff that sort of looks like a crayfish or a dragonfly nymph. I use bonefish flies sometimes. They'll work. Smaller bonefish flies will work.
Yep. I can
but
see that.
they'll eat clams, which is nearly impossible if they're rooting for clams. They'll eat mulberries that drop into the river. They'll eat cottonwood fluff. You catch them on. We catch them on dry flies. We catch them on mulberry imitations.
Jeez.
A 15-pound fish coming up to inhale a foam mulberry is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Cottonwood
cool. They
fluff.
Do that in the Humber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there mulberries on the Humber?
Yeah, there's a river close to downtown, and I remember I was just walking along it and then seeing carp rising. I was like, "What are carp rising to?"
Oh man, that is.
And then I think I might have read something or saw a video on it. Might have been you, and they're like mulberries, and I was like, mulberries, because there's mulberry trees.
A sparkly dubbing body, purple or green, depending on whether they're ripe or not, and then purple foam over the top. That's all you need, and just plop it in front of them, and they'll eat it.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, dry fly fishing.
It's the mulberries don't last that long, but this time of year, it's pretty cool stuff.
Oh man.
And then they'll eat mayflies. I mean, you get a big hatch of like hexes or something like that.
Yeah.
They'll eat mayflies. They'll eat anything.
Whoa.
That's amazing. Yeah, they get carp. That's something that
they're huge around here.
Yeah, they are.
They're huge around here. Yeah.
Huge,
I remember I actually used to work at an Orvis store in Ottawa, Green Drake Outfitters, in my teens, and I remember like when carp fishing first kind of first heard of it. I think was it Orvis that sold those little like pre-packaged carp fly things.
Yeah.
And there was a corn fly in there. I was like, does that work?
Well, sometimes you find places where people feed them bread.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not cool, but a big white, just big white gloppy fly will catch them too.
Toss it out, yeah.
I don't have any compunctions about finding bread eaters.
Yeah. It's awesome. So these days you're spending like a lot of your time fly fishing for carp, and in the summer months and smallmouth bass.
Yeah, once a week for carp. It's a drive for me.
Right.
So
right.
I'm actually busier than I ever was doing Facebook Lives and podcasts and all that stuff. So sometimes I'll go early in the morning for a couple hours. Typically during the week, it's small stream trout, because I have lots of small stream trout around my house, near my house. So during the week, it's a couple hours here and there, small stream trout, and then weekends, or I'll take a day off and go carp fishing or smallmouth fishing.
That's not bad at all. It seems like a pretty good little setup you got down there.
No, I'm learning to love the one I'm with. Kind of miss traveling, but I'm finding just some real interesting challenges.
Yeah. How has like the pandemic and quarantine and all that stuff affected your content? Because you say you're doing more Facebook Lives these days, eh?
Yeah. Well, doing them like 3 or 4 times a week now.
Jeez.
Oh wow.
Fly tying and interviewing people and things like that.
Yeah.
normally is this like a busy filming? Like, how do you balance between doing the TV show and everything else? Like, is it normally
Well,
like
the
filming right now?
TV show, I really had to kind of give up. At the time we started, I was doing the PR and media relations and community relations, and I said, look, I can't do the TV show and do that. So we hired, promoted one young guy, and hired another guy to do that stuff, because I pretty much had to concentrate on the TV show for a full 12 months.
Yeah.
Between filming and editing and scripting and, putting all the shots together. It's done now. So I'll, be working more with Facebook Lives and just more educational stuff. I don't know if I'm going to continue to do a lot of filming. I don't know if there'll be a season 3. It's very expensive. Those are expensive shows to produce. There's a lot of editing involved to do a highly scripted show. And just like everybody else, Orvis's sales have suffered through the pandemic, mainly in the apparel side of the business. Fishing is actually cranking. Fishing is doing really, really well now. Yeah, it's the best performing. Fishing is a fairly small percentage of Orvis's sales, but it's cranking.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're happy about that. People are fishing a lot. They're fishing close to home, but they're fishing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wicked. Did you have any trips planned this year that got nixed because of this whole thing?
Oh yeah, I was going to host a trip to Three Rivers Ranch in Idaho.
Nice.
And I had to bag that, and I was going to host a trip to the Bahamas at a couple of lodges, which I love dearly. I love the Bahamas, and had to bag that.
Yeah.
So I don't have any trips planned, honestly.
Yeah.
You got to wait and see.
Yeah.
Until we have a vaccine.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pretty.
I mean, it is kind of interesting though. Like you're saying, like exploring your home waters now because of this whole thing, and that's kind of a nice fallout in a way. Like people are going to be maybe spending more time close to home and learning their rivers and their waters and just getting to know their backyard.
They are. I mean, I see it on Instagram every day. People are just loving it, and you learn a lot because you have more time to fish when you're close to home.
Yeah.
And I think people are fishing more because they can't do much else.
Yeah.
That's great. You learn to love your own water, and
you do. Yeah. And everybody can find something nearby, even if you live in Phoenix, where there's water with carp there.
Oh yeah.
And bass and sunfish and that stuff. So
there's fish everywhere.
Yeah, there's fish everywhere, pretty much everywhere.
Refocus on the backyard. Yeah, we were supposed to be in Montana at the beginning of August, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
Another time, maybe.
Another time.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss the Rockies this year. And I'm gonna miss Cape Cod. I love striper fishing, and
oh man,
my family and I usually spend a week on Cape Cod, and then I go down a couple times. But that's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, striper fishing. Oh, it's a whole other world, eh? Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, so every show, Tom, we do a segment called Mitchie's Fishies 5, and it's 5 questions that we ask every guest. They're the same 5 questions, but there's you could take your time answering them. It's just 5 more kind of broad fly fishing questions. But we're gonna ask you them now.
I feel like one day we need to write a book about the answers.
Yeah, for sure.
All the guests. Yeah.
Don't write a book, guys. Don't write it. There's no future in it.
No future in books.
A picture book?
I think
apparently book sales are pretty good these days.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Listening to the New York Times book review this week, they talk about the publishing industry, and they're saying that book sales are very strong right now for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of positives happening.
That's promising. That publishing is doing well. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe this will be a coffee table book one day. I think a coffee table book, picture book. Although I like that idea.
A coffee table, like a pop-up picture book.
Carp.
Well, good luck with it, anyways. I wish you the best of luck.
Tom's favorite fly.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
I feel like I know what the answers are going to be, but I'll let Tom answer for himself.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have spent a lot of time talking about carp, and actually, this first question is, and I don't know if it's carp, might not be. What is your favorite fish and why?
I hate answering that question. I almost
Off to a
never
good
answer
start.
that question.
It's a tough one to answer.
I don't have one favorite fish.
Yeah.
I have various favorites. Can I mention more than one?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, brown trout,
Okay.
carp,
Yep.
bonefish, tarpon.
Yep.
Those would be,
Mm-hmm.
and false albacore and striped bass.
Every fish. I know. I totally. Get
it's all situational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Is that what you call a tarpon? That big whale that you were holding on your
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay. That's what they look like. Okay.
Massive fish.
Jesus.
What you should ask people is what's their least favorite fish.
Well, hey, what's your least favorite fish, Tom?
I think steelhead because it's too much
Really?
blind fishing.
Okay.
And
Okay.
not enough action for me.
Mm.
I'm impatient and
Yeah.
I do like to cast, but I love steelhead fishing when I'm doing it, but I don't go out of my way usually.
It's less like active for you, right? You're more into the sight fishing and
Yeah, I'm more into stalking. I'm more into stalking fish. So anything that's sight fishing that I can stalk is,
yeah.
Yeah. You're a hunter, Tom.
I guess so.
So you just basically, are you a big steelhead guy at all, or are you just sort of like, eh?
Well, I do it and I enjoy it when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the fall, it's about the only game in town.
Yeah.
If
Mhm.
you're close to home, so
Yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
do it, but
Yeah.
Not my favorite.
Right on. Okay.
Northern pike aren't my favorite either.
Oh, really?
I do it and they're exciting, but usually,
They're at the bottom of the list.
yeah.
I like that. Tom's favorite fish list, and at the bottom we could put pike and steelhead, and then at the top it's
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah, everything else.
I can dig that.
It's a good thing about. I like that you mentioned false albies. I caught a false albie by mistake. We were fishing for jack
Mm-hmm.
in the Keys, and like that was insane. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
they don't
I-
bother with them in Florida because they can't eat them. So people will go right by pods of them busting on the surface.
It's
Really?
like they're insane. It just spooled me in
Yeah.
like the blink of an eye.
Wow.
Yeah,
And,
they're a really beautiful,
Beautiful.
fascinating fish, and you can catch them all the way up to Cape Cod is about the northern range, but all along the East Coast.
I wonder why they're
Yeah.
overlooked. Like, why do people not target them more often?
Oh, they do here. They do
Yeah.
up here.
Oh.
It can get really a zoo
Yeah.
in the Northeast, in Rhode Island or Cape Cod or even North Carolina. But when you get down to Florida, people are more looking for something they can eat.
Gotcha.
They're looking for Spanish mackerel or king mackerel or snappers and stuff like that. So they pass them by.
I remember it hit like we were fishing top water happened upon a school of pretty sizable jacks, and then this false albie hit the fly, and it sounded like a fastball coming into a catcher's mitt.
Mm-hmm.
Like bam!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What just happened?" And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, it was just 100 yards of my back, and it was like, boom! I was like, "Okay."
Oh, I forgot another favorite fish, bluefin tuna. I have caught a few on a fly.
Oh, whoa.
Small ones, but
Bluefin tuna.
there is nothing more exciting than chasing bluefin. I haven't done it in a long time because there haven't been many small fish, and gas is so expensive. You have to do a lot of running.
Right.
But boy,
Mm.
I'll go out of my way. I'll drop everything and drive to the coast if somebody tells me that there's small bluefin tuna close to shore.
And you're casting to them from shore?
No,
Okay, so you're in a boat
but close to shore means less than 20 miles.
Gotcha,
out.
gotcha.
Right, got it.
Man, that would be a crazy fly fishing experience. Bluefin tuna?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, that's cool. Well, I mean, that's the first time we've heard someone in the favorite fish question say bluefin tuna. So I dig this.
Yeah.
This is going good.
It's a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
It's really stupid because 99 times out of 100 you don't catch one.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
But then when you do,
When you do, it's and then it's a slugfest, and then you say, "Why the hell did I do this?"
You just panic. Yeah.
now
Yeah.
now what? Yeah.
I dig that. Okay, number 2 is if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's the best time of year to go there, where would you go
Mhm.
and why would you go there?
I would It would be a toss up, I think, between somewhere in the Rockies, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, or the Bahamas for bonefish. I love bonefish because it's stalking, and I like sight fishing.
I love bonefish.
And I love the Bahamas. I love the people, the guides, the ecosystem there is really pristine.
Yeah.
So
what's the fly fishing culture like down in the Bahamas? Like how is it, what's special about the Bahamas and bone fishing down there?
Well, it's just, there's so many opportunities. There's so many flats, and there's so many islands, and there aren't a lot of guides, but the guides that are there are absolutely superb. Some of the best guides in the world, and they're very nice for saltwater guides. They'll laugh and chuckle, and they won't put a lot of pressure on you. They don't yell at you.
Nice.
Guides.
They're really fishy guys. Mostly guys. There's one woman guide in the Bahamas that I fished with this past year. But mostly guys, and they're old. They're older. There aren't a lot of young guys getting into it, which is disturbing to the older guides. Yeah. But they're just great to be with on a boat. They're just so much fun. Again, they don't put a lot of pressure on you like a lot of saltwater guides do. Yeah. You just have fun.
Well, that's huge.
Just have fun with them.
That's the biggest thing, Like I never understand that how some guides are just so like short and frustrated on the water. It's like, man, we're out here to have a good time. So that sounds bonefish with some nice people. That sounds like that's a great answer.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Love that. Number 3 of Mitch's Fishies 5 is, what is your best or favorite fishing memory, or one of your favorite fishing memories?
Oh God.
Yeah, there's a lot after 44 years.
I just can't go there.
Or do you have any good carp memories, perhaps? Recent carp memories? I like that one up in Ithaca. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, the last carp I caught in a mulberry was pretty cool. We spotted the fish sucking up some mulberries under a tree, and we eased in, and I plopped that mulberry down, and he just came up and hailed it. He was about like 15 pounds.
Yeah. So there's too many fishing memories for you to pluck.
There's too many. They're all good. There's just too many of them.
Fair enough. I can dig that. Okay. Number 4 is, why do you fly fish? What do you get out of fly fishing? What is it about fly fishing?
It's my life. What do I get out of it? It's like eating or breathing.
Yeah. For you, it's interesting because it is your living. It's been your entire livelihood.
Yeah. It's because you're always learning. Yeah. Humans want to learn. We're driven to learn. And I have a trout stream in my backyard that's not very good this year, but there's a few small fish in it, and they're all wild fish, and they're really spooky. And every time I take a rod out in the backyard, I learn something new. Even though I see these fish twice a day walking the dogs and whatever, but I'm always surprised and always learning something.
Yeah.
Every single day. There's no predictability. There's so many variables in fly fishing.
Yeah.
So I guess that, and the element of stalking.
Right.
I have a friend, Todd Tanner, who's a fishing writer and runs some schools, and he calls me a predator, which is one of the greatest compliments I've ever had.
Yeah, it's a great asset on the river, I would say. Yeah. That's awesome. No, it's a great answer. Number 5, and the last of Mitch's Fishies 5 is, if you were a fly pattern, what would you be? What fly pattern represents you best, and why? It's not gonna be a mulberry, is it, or a corn?
No.
Corn fly?
I guess it would be a parachute Adams, because I'm a generalist.
Yeah.
I'm a generalist. I'm not expert at any area of fly fishing. Most of my fishing buddies are better at me than what we're doing at the time.
Yeah.
thinking of Sean Combs, who is the Orvis rod designer, who's my carp fishing buddy, and he sees them so much quicker than I do, and he knows what to do. I think the only thing that I'm better at than most people is reading water and finding trout, and figuring out trout behavior. I'm pretty good at that.
That's a good skill to have.
But as you know, what was the question? I forgot what the question was.
What fly pattern represents you best and why?
Oh yeah. So I'm a generalist. I'm a
Mhm.
parachute Adams or a woolly bugger.
I dig that. Parachute Adam's great. Woolly buggers, good
Parachute
too,
Adam's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
And woolly buggers you can never knock the woolly bugger. I love that. We've got a couple
No,
people
you
saying
can't.
woolly bugger.
It friggin' works everywhere.
It just
for
works.
everything.
It's insane.
It just works. It just
awesome.
works. And it's such an easy fly to tie. I love
Yeah.
it because I can crank out a bunch.
It's the only fly I can tie. So
Yeah, that's all you need.
That's all you need. I love it.
Really good for carp too.
Oh,
as well as trout.
it is a good carp fly, eh?
Yeah,
Woolly
it's an
bugger?
awesome carp. Oh, it's a small olive woolly bugger looks, enough like a damselfly nymph or a crayfish to make it work.
I love that, man. Woolly buggers is just like you can catch any fish on. I wonder if you could catch a bluefin tuna on a woolly bugger. Big enough.
I think you could. I think you could. I'm not gonna waste my shots, but I think I think you could.
I love that. It's great.
Yeah. That's saltwater gauged. Woolly bugger.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I've caught a lot of striped bass on woolly buggers, and I've caught tarpon
Nice.
on woolly buggers. So
Oh man,
Oh, wow.
tarpon on a woolly bugger.
and bonefish. I caught bonefish on woolly buggers. So yeah, they work.
That's awesome.
Yep, there you
I love
go.
that. So do you got any fly fishing plans in your immediate future? Like what's your week looking like fly fishing wise? You gonna be able to get out?
I got an awful lot of Facebook Lives this week. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I know I can sneak out early in the morning and go small stream fishing, but I'm trying to scheme my next carp trip. It may have to wait till next Saturday.
I love it. Yeah, right on. I'm excited. We're going to be getting out. Actually, these guys are coming down my way, and we're going to go largemouth bass fishing next week. That's going to be good.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Can't
pretty
wait to get
great.
back on the water.
So
man.
many largemouth places. So yeah, this is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, man.
That's on my least favorite fish list.
Yeah, largemouth bass.
Yeah. I'll go after him. But it's not something I'll drive very far to catch.
Yeah.
I'm driving 4 hours to catch them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to each his own, right?
Yeah,
We do.
exactly.
We play this game the way we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more we're driving 4 hours so we can actually hang out with each other.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
thing too.
You guys should go carp fishing. Hell,
We
with
should.
largemouth.
We
We
should.
should.
Yeah.
We've never done it together. We've never gone carp fishing together, guys. Like,
And they're right downtown Toronto, so
Yeah,
there's really
they're right
no
there.
excuse.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no excuse.
no, yeah.
We've got the
Do it.
equipment.
Well, we will.
I want to come to Toronto when this is all when they open the border. I want to come to Toronto and go
Yeah,
carp
do it.
fishing.
You
Yeah,
should. You
Yeah,
should.
absolutely.
do it. Come, that'd be
Not a
so
lot-
fun.
Not a lot of people.
But then I'd have to go to Toronto, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mark Melnick tells me what it's
Hey,
like
what?
living in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. Yeah. Well, yeah, you should come up to Toronto. We'll go carp fishing. That'd be crazy, right in the middle of the city, and then we'll go get tacos.
I'd
or
love to
something.
do it.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it.
It'd be awesome.
Okay.
Our last partner here at Untitled Gab, he swears by carp fishing. He loves it. He loves it more than anything, and he just kept talking about it. So, and he's been trying.
Yeah, he
all
says, yeah, but he never went and did it. Yeah.
this-
he said how much he loved it, and then.
Hey, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
For Aldo.
Yeah,
Is that really your last name? Is that your?
it is really my last name. Yeah. My
Wow, what
grandfather-
an appropriate
Pescatore.
last name.
Yeah, yeah, that's my last name. Yeah, my grandfather was he wasn't a fly angler, but he was a big angler and a big. He shot up. He hunted pheasants and raised pointers, and yeah, he did the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
Well, somewhere back in your lineage, there must have been a
Yeah.
more fishermen, right?
Actually, he took the name because he didn't like his father very much, and he loved fishing, and he changed his name to that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
that's
so
pretty
that's
awesome.
why we have that name.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to change my last name to Pescatore.
Yeah, I was just thinking the
Do
same
it.
thing, man.
Yeah, dude. There's more. There's a lot of room in the clan. There's not many of us. So if you guys want to join up,
Okay,
I don't
I'm in.
mind.
I'm in.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. But Mitch and I grew up. We grew up in Ottawa. We've been fishing. We fished warm water our whole lives. Like I think I picked up this fly rod at 11.
hmm
I don't know why. Like everybody fished. Everybody in my family spin fished, and then my mom, of all people, bought me like a Fenwick fly rod at a corner store, or like a Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, in those days there weren't many young fly fishers. These days
with
it's totally different now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many young people getting into it. It's so cool.
It is cool to see. Yeah, it's becoming more, I don't know, accepted by everybody. It's more accessible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the Orvis store opened in Ottawa. I was just like, somebody had bought me like a little 6-pack of flies.
Yeah.
And I was looking. I was like, where did you get these? Because we didn't have anything. And they're like, oh, this store called Orvis just opened. And I was like, what? And I rode my bike down there. I think I was 13. I was like, oh God, I'm going to start cutting some lawns.
Yeah, exactly. That was the best.
Oh, it was probably that 8-weighted nymph selection that we used to use as a name acquisition device.
Yeah.
8 nymphs for $9.95 and was it in a little fleece wallet?
No, it was in, you remember when you had those green segmented fly boxes?
Oh,
yeah. And
okay.
They were like waterproof, and you could open them like a clamshell.
Yeah.
And it said Orvis on it, and I was like, "What is?"
Oh, okay.
I was like, "What does any of this mean?" We in Ottawa, we didn't have. I wasn't aware of that brand, but then when I walked into that store, my mind was just like, "Whoa!"
That was the best. It was the best. I used to love going to that store, man.
And then Mitch worked at the other fly fishing shop called Float, Paddle, and Fly.
Yeah.
And but we only met 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we had the same upbringing,
Toronto,
basically, which is kind of funny.
Wow.
And now I'm changing my last name to Pescator, and we're gonna be brothers, my friend. I love that. There you go. Tom, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. It's been a lot of fun just talking about your fly fishing life and carp and where you're at right now. And if there's anything you want to leave with people in terms of some stuff you got coming out,
or where people can find your stuff. I'm sure they know, but just in case.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Yeah, the podcast is on iTunes. It's the Orvis Fly Fishing Podcast, and the video stuff is all on the New Fly Fishers channel. The Orvis Guide to Fly Fishing. And I do Facebook Lives 2 or 3 times a week, mostly fly tying on the Orvis Facebook. And I have a bunch of books out there that people are welcome to buy.
Yeah, check them out, everybody. Well, they're great. Yeah, it's thanks again for just spending so much time putting out all this content, because it's helped a lot of people get into the sport. You're looking at a couple of them, and yeah, we appreciate just hopping on the show today to chat with us. It was fun.
Well, thank you guys. It's been fun, and I think the one thing I would leave people with is don't overthink this fly fishing stuff.
Yeah,
it's not that hard, except carp fishing. It's not that hard, and don't be intimidated, and don't overthink it.
Definitely a good piece of advice. And
love that.
when the world opens back up, definitely come on up to Toronto, and we'll go stick some carp maybe with Mark.
I'm in, guys.
It'd be fun.
Yeah,
as soon as the mulberries fall, I'm coming.
I love it.
The mulberry hatch.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks very much.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
All right.
It was my
Take
pleasure.
care. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Take care. Well, that was Tom Rosenbauer. Tom, thanks again for coming on the show. That was super fun.
It's pretty cool getting to talk to somebody who's had a professional career in fly fishing for 44 years. But then also, it's neat talking about other people who do podcasts, and obviously his podcast is very successful. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's neat.
It was cool to meet Tom too. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I've been following along with Tom forever. I think Tom's podcast was one of 3 of the first podcasts I ever heard on fly fishing, way back. And I was like, this is a cool little show. I really liked the formula back then. And again, just the way he, similar to that idea of calling New Fly Fisher, where it's just really about education and learning and teaching. I think it's a huge resource, obviously, Tom's stuff.
And I think it's both Colin and Tom are pretty soft-spoken and non-judgmental type people, which is, I think, that's what fly fishing needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Inspirational, definitely.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to 100%. We got to take Colin up to Toronto take Tom up to Toronto and go fly fishing. That'd be so for carp. That'd be so fun.
Maybe with Colin.
Yeah, take Colin. Yeah, take Mark. Maybe if Mark's down, and Tom and go do some carp fishing. That'd be fun.
What's that, Mitch? You got a brush there? A brush for your snare drum?
I do. It's just sitting on my table. I don't know why it's here. Honestly, I have no idea why I have a snare.
Getting it into jazz drumming?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know why. I'm not sure where it came from.
When we When we go to your cottage, we can cover the Pink Panther.
That'd be sick. Oh my god, next
Yeah,
week.
I love that track,
That'd
man.
be so sweet. That'd be so fun. Oh my god. Have a little jam.
You're joking, but I love that track.
I should have brought a drum
Oh, I
kit.
like it too.
I can play the tambourine.
Yeah, I should have brought my drum kit up here, and then we could have had like a little jam out in the woods. It would have been crazy.
Can anybody play saxophone?
I can
Can
get that guy to do
anybody
it with his
play
voice.
saxophone? Man, you're talking to one of the saxophone kings. Me, baby. Clarinet too. Yeah, you better believe it. No, I can't play saxophone. I can figure.
I play clarinet. I played clarinet.
Did you?
I can play the recorder.
Oh, nice. Really?
Nice.
That's sick. Man.
No, I can't play.
Wow, that's so sick. It's cool. Just like 44 years, that guy's traveled everywhere. Probably caught every fish on Earth. And
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
just like, yeah, I like fishing for carp. I was like, I love that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's
Something
awesome.
about that I love. It's like,
It was very, his answers were different than anybody else's in terms of what we expected him to say for fishies fives.
Yeah, tuna. Like I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I never even thought about fly fishing for tuna. It's crazy. I love that.
so a couple days from now, Mitch, we're going to be at your cottage fishing for bayhaft.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna use the flies that we tied during blindfolded tying and see if we can catch fish on them. I'm sure we will. These largies are hungry and keen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go out there this week maybe for an evening fish, and see if I can
Yeah.
get them ready.
Scout for us, Mitch. Scout for
Do
us.
some scouting on the pond.
But we're also going to try that little Rainbow Lake, right?
I think
Rainbow Trout Lake.
That'd be kind of fun. Like I honestly, I've never been there, and I don't know anything about the lake, and also I don't know anything about getting to it. Like I'm not sure what access is going to be like. But part of the adventure. If we get up like kind of early on Saturday and just head out there and just see if the road is like, oh man, like we can't get in there without like a side by side or an ATV or something, then we'll just turn around and go fish the Bass Lake because it's not that far. But I think it'd be fun. I mean, the trout are going to be pretty deep, I think, right now because it's
hot as hell.
Yeah,
it's been hot.
Yeah, you're right.
We'd have to get there pretty early, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also like, I mean, no matter what, we're going to be having to fish. I think sink lines, and they're going to be. I think they're going to be pretty deep.
How many rods are you bringing up? Because we have Bree there. If Bree wants to fish, do we have a rod for her? I'm bringing up 2.
Yeah, we got lots of fly rods. We'll have tons and tons of fly rods up here.
I can bring I'll bring my 6-weight, my 7-weight, my 8-weight.
Yeah, and I've got 2 8s, a 9, a 10, like a bunch of rods here. But yeah, it's gonna be fun, guys. I'm looking forward to it. Gonna have a good time. Are you guys going fishing this week at all, or have you been out fishing recently?
No, Dane wanted to go for some smallmouth.
Yeah.
I just told him a couple spots, and I told him I'll check with Trip to see because I think he wants to go up to the Beaver or like the Saugeen
Nice.
for smallies. So
Smallies. It's small. It is smallie season. I mean, this is the
Smallie
time.
season, it's way too hot to be fishing for trout. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's definitely smallie season for sure.
I mean, he could go to the Grand, but
Yeah.
I think he wants to explore a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Like the Grand for smallies?
Yeah.
I love the Grand for smallies, man. I love
Dude,
it.
they're big too.
They're big.
Like-
Like going around Paris.
Paris is great
Love
for
it.
smallies. Yeah.
Love it.
It's been
Easy
like it's
access.
been 40 degrees. Like it's not a good time to fish for trout. So go hit up some bass for sure. We can hit up some walleye when you guys are up too. There's that back bay, and you know what I think is gonna be cool is fish some of the islands on the lake. Just go like pop up on an island, like just go
Mhm.
fish the islands. I think that'd be a cool way to do it.
We get such a short bass season. You might as well
Take advantage.
take
of it.
advantage of it,
100%.
Any
Like, I know they stay open. I know they stay open in the fall, but once that water cools down, they really shut down.
They shut
Any
down.
pike up there,
They
Mitch?
shut down. Yeah, there's some pike lakes up here. I haven't. There's no pike where I'm at in my
just
water here.
walleye.
Walleye,
Walleye.
bass, walleye, smallies, largemouth, and then sometimes like random things, like someone got a lingcod once through the ice, which is kind of cool. And
That's cool.
I swear I hooked like a giant pike on that Bass Lake there that we go on. When I was a kid, it was this. I have this memory of I was like I think 12 or 11, and I have this memory of a giant fish jumping out of the water and breaking my line off like instantly, right? Like literally, like it jumped out, smoked my lure, which was like a plug on the top, I think, and then it just like went in the water and just broke it immediately. And I was like, holy crap! And I'm pretty sure it was like a massive pike, but I've never caught pike in there, so I'm like, I don't.
The one, the river, maybe.
Yeah, it's connected to a bunch of different lakes and rivers and stuff, right? So I think sometimes fish find their way. And actually, there is a lake next to it that does have pike in it, but it's like it's a lot of private sort of water, so there's no access to it. But I'm thinking there's some big pike in there. But we could also there's also muskie fishing around here.
What?
See, that's what I would love. Like, yeah,
we
that's
can-
pretty unique.
We can go try to do that. Like maybe just ask.
Let's try to do that. We can ask Bill and see
Yeah,
if he knows
hey,
any
Bill,
lakes
like,
in the area.
Yeah, do you want to give us like some
I should
info?
Bring your 10 weight, man.
my 10 weight.
Because we could do that, which would be pretty crazy if we actually stuck a muskie. Like, whoa.
Wild.
Yeah, there's also the Madawaska River. Madawaska River is up not far from here too, so we could always go there. I mean, there's tons of opportunities, so we can figure it out.
There's something nice about just floating around on that float tube in
Yeah.
a bathing suit, catching
Yeah,
bass all
enough.
day.
Totally.
Put that
Chilling out,
out there.
having a good time.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%.
But I'd be down for some muskie.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
more so than that trout lake.
Yeah, I think maybe me too.
Yeah, me too.
Well, maybe
Me
we'll
three.
email Bill and see what's going on.
I'm out in Prince Edward County.
Yeah.
Gorgeous out here.
Oh, it's
This
beautiful
weekend.
out there.
Never fished out here either, but I know there's a lot of bass.
Oh yeah.
Your host, Alba, just emailed me. He's like, "Where's my files, Ilma? I gotta get her some files right now."
I love it. Yeah, say hi to Sam for us.
Will do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, man, see you in a couple days, Mitchie.
See you guys in a couple days. Everybody listening, check out our website, SoFly.ca, because in the coming weeks and months, we're going to be releasing some videos from our trip to Esnagami Lodge. It was a great trip. We caught huge brook trout, tons of walleye on the fly, a bunch of pike as well, and obviously we're put up by some fantastic hosts there, Eric and his whole crew down there at Esnagami Lodge. So yeah, check out our webpage and just, if you want to see some of that content coming through. And thanks again for listening to the show, and thanks again, Tom, for coming on. Like we said, obviously we've been seeing your stuff for years, and so we're super excited that you sat and spoke with us, and yeah, hopefully we can get on the water soon with you, Tom. And yeah, thanks again. That's it for me, Mitch. Aldo.
Bye, everybody.
Yelba.
See you guys.
Take care.
You can find all of SoFly's content at SoFly.ca. On Instagram, we're at the SoFly Crew. You can reach us at thesoflycrew@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or concerns. On Facebook, we're SoFly, and our podcast is available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify.